Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Daniel Amen. Happy Saturday night, 6th, 7th, 8th one in the pandemic. I'm at home. I know many of you are too, and have my grandbabies over swimming and for a barbecue. And it just got me thinking about what are the best ways to really engage a child's mind, and what are the 5 to 7 things parents shouldn't do. And so that's what we're going to talk about. You can also catch me tomorrow morning on CNN Headline News at 6:50 in the morning, which means I'm up Pacific time, so that's 9:50 in the morning Eastern time. And we're going to talk about how to talk to your kids about the pandemic. Now, hopefully you've already talked to them about it, but from a child psychiatrist standpoint, what are things that are helpful and what are things you just shouldn't do? The first one is you shouldn't stress out. Now, I know that's really hard to say because this is a very stressful situation, but children are like violins. What that means is they play the stress of their parents. So the best thing you can do for your child is learn how to manage your mind. And over the last month, I think I've posted about 30 videos on how to manage your mind. You want to just go through and look at the ones you think most apply to you. But the most important thing you can do for your kids is manage your own mind. And if you're married, treat their mother, their father with your partner in a loving, respectful way. It's just so critical during this time because they have more time with you probably than ever in their whole life, and you want to model a brain healthy, mentally healthy life. Number 2, parents should never avoid talking about the pandemic. So often as parents, we want to protect our children, and so we don't talk about things that are real. And it's important. Now, of course, you have to do it at their age. So don't avoid the topic, but start by asking kids what they understand about the virus and the pandemic, and then be a good listener. And as a child psychiatrist, I use drawing all the time. I ask kids to draw what's on their mind. And often I'll ask them to draw a family doing something together. It's so insightful on where they put themselves. I'll ask them to draw a house, a tree, and a person, just trying to see what's on their mind emotionally. And I would ask them to draw what's going on in the world. And the most important thing is listening. Don't tell them what to think. Don't go, oh no, don't think like that, because then they won't talk to you. So active listening, when they say something, repeat it back, and then be quiet long enough to hear what they actually have to say. That is just so important. And then once you listen, you can correct any misconceptions. Now, there's a whole bunch of misconceptions, and this pandemic's become a terrible political football, and that's why parents should never have the news on in the background 24/7. So maybe a half an hour a day, just so everybody's up to date, but then turn it off and do something else. Number three, parents should never let ants, automatic negative thoughts, go unchallenged. So very important to teach kids how not to believe everything they think. In fact, one of our early pandemic episodes, my niece Amelie and I read Captain Snout and the Superpower Questions. It's about teaching kids to kill the ants, the automatic negative thoughts. That's why the hero is an ant eater. So don't let the news and internet do the talking for you. Monitor what they're watching. And when they say things like, I'm so worried grandma's going to die. And it's like, I understand. I'm concerned too. That's why we're going to do everything we can to protect her. And now you can say, well, did you know Dr. Amon's mom and dad had COVID-19 and they went to the hospital, but then they came home and they're doing so much better. Thank you all for your prayers. Better every day. Number four, parents should never blame others. When you blame others, you become a victim and you can't do anything. You become powerless. And I'm not a fan of this, oh, these people did that, these people did this, and just the anxiety and drama. Whenever you blame someone else for the problems in your life, you become a victim and you're powerless. Now, I know there'll be a whole political fallout about China and when did they know what, but it's just not good for your mental health to be in that. And I don't think it's really a good idea for you to be sharing that with children. Focus on what you can do. Focus on what your family can do, what the children can do to protect others. Parents should never minimize what the kids are feeling. Now, it's stressful. It's a worldwide global pandemic. It's going to have an impact for a long time. So you want to listen, be sympathetic, give them simple tools to manage their stress and anxiety, have them write down their negative thoughts, correct the ones that are not accurate, have them draw, have them listen to music, teach them soft belly breathing, some simple meditations. There's so many things we can do to help the mental health of our children. Don't fail to get them help. Did you know it's on average 11 years between the time a child first has a symptom of anxiety, depression, obsessive compulsive disorder, panic disorder? It's 11 years between the time a child first has their symptom and the time they have their first clinical psychiatric appointment. That's terrible. If the simple things I'm giving you aren't working and you're really struggling with the child over and over again, getting them an evaluation is so important. And here at Amen Clinics, we can help. We're doing virtually all of our appointments virtually. So, I mean, it's like almost any time, anywhere, you can get the help for your kids that you need. Never lose your cool with your kids, yelling, screaming, hitting. it's just not smart, scaring children in order to control them. Domestic violence in China has gone way up. It's also gone up in other countries, including here in the United States. It's horrifying. And it's actually, it's hard for people to know because no one's bringing the kids with a broken arm to the emergency room because everybody's afraid. And so if you have issues with anger, I did a live chat on anger, find it, and go through the strategies that can help you. Because, one of the problems with our brains is it has this big structure that's shaped like a seahorse called the hippocampus that remembers things. So it remembers highly charged emotional things. So being angry, being mean, being aggressive, your child's going to remember that. That is not going to enhance their development. It's actually going to damage their development. So getting control of yourself is just absolutely critical. And it's hard. I get that it's hard when you're in a small apartment and you can't get away from the noise and you're not sleeping. I get it. But, when this thing started, for me, I'm like, I really want to be proud of myself in September when hopefully this thing will be settled down. I want to be proud of my actions. And so ask yourself, what do you want? Is your behavior getting you what you want? And if you're having trouble and you're losing your cool, you getting help is a sign of strength. It is not a sign of weakness. And then the last important thing, never fail to notice what you like more than what you don't like. And if you actually look above my head, you can actually see a penguin. I collect penguins. I have, at different points in my life, had hundreds of them, maybe 1,000 of them. People give them to me when they hear me tell the story about penguins. And the penguins remind me to notice what I like about other people more than what I don't. So I have 4 children. My oldest, Anthony, I adopted him. And he was hard for me. And he was a small child when I was a child psychiatry fellow. So I was doing my training to become a child psychiatrist. And, half an hour of homework would take him 3 hours to do with his mother yelling and screaming at him. Every time I'd ask him to do something, the answer would be no. It was hard. And my supervisor said, we have to work on the bond between you and your son. And so I started spending more time. I started listening. I was raised by a father who demanded compliance. Now, I didn't always do it, and we had a conflicted relationship. And so, but in my head, the message was, you should listen to me. You should do what I tell you to do. Because that's what I was raised with. And my son just didn't do that. And so I started spending more time with him. I started being a better listener. And one Saturday, I think it was 1986, somewhere around there. I was living in Hawaii at the time. I was training at the University of Hawaii and Tripler, the big pink military hospital on the hill in Honolulu. And I took my son to Sea Life Park. And it was just he and I that day. It's like Marine World or Sea World. They have sea animal shows. We went to the whale show together, and that was fun. And he was little, and I'm holding his hand, and we're having a good day. And then we went to the dolphin show, and then the sea lion show. we had a really lovely bonding day. And then at the end of the day, it was like the 3:30 show. We went and saw Fat Freddy. It was the Penguin show. And Freddy was this chubby penguin. And he comes out into the arena, climbs a diving board, goes up like 20 steps, goes out to the edge of the board, bounces on it, and then jumps in the water. I'm like, whoa. And then Freddie gets out of the water and he bowls with his nose and counts with his flippers. And then he jumps through a hoop of fire, and I have my arm around my son and I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And then at the end of the show, the trainer asked Freddie to go get something, and Freddie went and got it, and he brought it right back. And in my mind, I went, wow, I asked this kid to get something for me, and he wants to have a discussion for like 20 minutes, and then he doesn't want to do it. And I knew my son was smarter than the penguin. So I went up to the trainer afterwards, because I'm a child psychiatry fellow. I don't know anything. I'm like, how'd you get Freddie to do all these really cool things? And she looked at my son, and then she looked at me, and she said, unlike parents, whenever Freddie does anything like what I want him to do, I notice him. I give him a hug, and I give him a fish. Now, the light went on in my head that even though my son didn't like fish, funny aside, Chloe, my 16-year-old, she totally loves raw fish, like from the time she was 2. She's a sushi girl. She actually named our cat Miso. So anyway, what I realized is that whenever my son did anything right, I didn't pay any attention to him at all. But when he didn't do the right things, I gave him a ton of attention because I didn't want to raise bad children. So I was inadvertently teaching him to be bad in order to get attention. And so I collect penguins as a way to notice what I love about other people, not what I don't like about other people. If you can just get that one concept from tonight, this will have been worth it. Notice what you like more than what you don't like. Oh, by the way, this works for spouses. This works for employees. This works for your supervisor. Notice what you like more than what you don't, and you're going to get more of what you like. So turn into headline news tomorrow morning. I wish you a wonderful evening. I always want you to have a better brain and a better life.